Hello and welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl, and here we are back for another one of our Tomb Kings faction focus videos, this time looking at special units. So the aim of these video series is to look at the 8th edition rules to get an indication of how units played, what the flavour of them was, and how that might influence rules and their role in Warhammer The Old World. As you'd expect, their flavour and role to be quite similar, despite the rules being different. So as I said, we're looking at the special unit part of the army roster in this episode. It's quite large, so we've split it into two parts. Up first are the Tomb Guard, and you can see a picture of the unit on the right hand side there. Relatively new plastic kit, really nice looking kit, one of the best new kits coming into the Tomb Kings range. Great flavour, lots of detail, clearly Tomb King. A little bit better with their proportions, both with the heads and hands compared to the basic skeleton warriors. Really nice kit, really sad to see it go, and really looking forward and hoping to see this kit make a reappearance. Stats wise, pretty average strength, toughness and good leadership for elite infantry, though they did have low weapon skill, ballistic skill and attacks for elite infantry, only one attack per model. Equipment wise, they could have hand weapons, they came with hand weapons, light armor and a shield, so you're on a 5+ armor save there. No heavy armor, so the durability being an issue, but you could give them halberds for extra points. Minimum unit size was 10, and they can have full command characters. Special rules, the normal Nehekar and Undead, they do get Killing Blow. So this is 6s to wound, automatically kills. Pretty nice Killing Blow. So overall, I mean, it's the best infantry unit for the Tomb Kings. It was not only did they look good, they actually were one of the better performing units. So you'd always have at least one large unit in the army, with numbers of bodies being key. So, 30-man unit potentially with a Tomb King, with a battle standard bearer, normally in the unit as well. Often the extra points for the halberds weren't worth it. You just go for the extra bodies. Killing Blow, as much as it can pop off if you roll hot and roll those 6s to wound, it was often just a deterrent for people, not wanting to put their multiple wound or high armor save units, even if they get the charge against the Tomb Kings. If it's a sizable unit, you're unlikely to destroy it. They're not going to flee, they're not going to break, and they might crumble a few, but they're going to attack you back. So you're going to have to deal with that Killing Blow. So always a bit of a fear there for the enemy to charge a Killing Blow unit like that. And if you took a magic standard for the unit, you could enhance their durability a little bit more, which is where I think you'd probably go for in this particular case. Next up is the Necropolis Knights. Now, I personally quite liked these models. You can see them there. I had 6 of these and still do, in fact. They're essentially Tomb Guard that are riding these animated construct serpents. They were fondly known as the Snake Surfers. However, not everybody liked the aesthetic. Personally, I did, but model appearance is definitely one of personal choice. But they were relatively new plastic kit, and they could quite well be on the way back for a Tomb King's army in Warhammer The Old World. Stats wise, average strength, toughness, good leadership, low weapon skill, ballistic skill and wounds for elite cavalry. Equipment, they came with just a spear, but that is not a problem for durability, and we'll see why. So they got a whole host of special rules. So they've got the Killing Blow because they're Tomb Guard, though that only does apply to the riders. They have Animated Construct, so 5+ armor save and 1 less wound from Unstable and Death of the Hierophant, and can be affected by Necrotex. The snakes get poisoned attacks, so they auto wound on 6s to hit. But they get Stone Hide. Now, Stone Hide gives them a total armor save of 3+, making them, ignoring toughness, the most durable, certainly from an armor save perspective, unit in the Tomb King roster. You can take Entombed Beneath the Sands for points. That essentially you gain ambushers, meaning you start off the table and then you get placed on the board in a deep strike style fashion, for those that are familiar with that rule. The difference is you roll the scatter and artillery dice, so you don't always land where you want to, though you wouldn't be destroyed if you scattered into terrain. You would just be placed on the edge of it, which was very useful indeed. One of the issues, though, is you can't declare a charge, and if you do roll the misfire on the artillery dice, you're going to roll on the mishap table, which could, in really bad luck, you could have your unit destroyed or even delayed a turn. Now, given these were an expensive unit, that's less than ideal. Overall, look, they're decent monstrous cavalry tomb guard unit. They can move 7, though there's no option for a magic standard. They can get the regeneration from a necrotect, but he is going to struggle to keep up. Despite good durability, points cost versus damage output made it difficult for them to get good return on the investment of points. And Entombed Beneath the Sands, definitely not worth it. I wouldn't have taken that at all. And they were just often not taken because people didn't like the way they looked. I thought they were quite good, reasonably viable. Like I say, I can expect to see the model kits make their way back, and it'll be interesting to see how they look from a rules perspective. But if you want your tough, killy, heavy cavalry style unit, these were the guys, and I'd expect them to fulfill a similar role in Warhammer The Old World if they do in fact appear. Next up is the Tomb Scorpion, and I'm sure it doesn't take you too long to look at that picture and realise that this was a pretty old model and in need of a massive update. However, it did have above average strength, toughness, attacks and good leadership. Low ballistic skill, not an issue, but also wounds. Did have low wounds for a monstrous beast. No equipment, and obviously comes in a unit size of 1. Does get killing blow, which is quite useful. Is an animated construct, gets poison attacks, gets magic resistance 1, so it does get a 6+ ward save against spells. And it has Entombed Beneath the Sands for free. Now, this was a unit that I did often see on the tabletop, and it wasn't always a Games Workshop model, I have to say, because there were alternatives. But given the fact it gets Entombed Beneath the Sands for free, it does get more damage output than a non-magic item equipped Tomb Prince for similar points that can appear anywhere on the board. It was very useful for flank and rear charging in already engaged units, particularly those with those multiple wound, high toughness, because it's got killing blow, as well as threatening small units of weak archers or war machines. So if you've got these sort of small 5-10 man archer units, maybe hiding a character at the back, this thing could actually put some pressure on them by quite significantly, and would quite easily destroy a war machine crew. Main vulnerability was its durability, though. 5+ armor save and only 3 wounds. So the fact that when you come out from Entombed Beneath the Sands and you can't charge, you might have to endure a unit of shooting, and that could be an issue. And finally, for this episode, we have one of, if not my most favourite unit in the Tomb Kings roster, which was the Ushabti. Again, old models that ended up in Finecast at the end of the edition. But man, they looked really cool and really gave you that flavour of the Egyptian style Tomb Kings, which is where their inspiration comes from. Overall, they've got above average movement, wounds, attacks, and good leadership. Low ballistic skill, which did hurt the bows, and initiative, which is a standard for a Tomb King. They did come with hand weapon and a great weapon, and you could replace that great weapon for an additional hand weapon or a great bow. Obviously, the great weapon giving you plus strength, and the hand weapon giving you plus attack. Minimum unit size was 3. They get animated constructs, so they can benefit from a necrotect, and they get arrows of Asaph, so they can move and shoot. Overall, it's a good melee unit with okay durability, 3 wounds, 5+ save, and they can get that benefit from the Necrotect. Rarely taken with the great bows, say due to that low ballistic skill, but they got great flexibility with you either able to choose to go for a great weapon unit for that strength or the additional hand weapon depending on what you need in your army. Do you need something that's giving you that high strength to kill pretty tough models with a good armor save, because obviously strength does directly impact your armor piercing number, or do you want those extra attacks? Are you going for an army like Skaven, who are generally low toughness, low numbers of wounds and low armor, in which case you want as many attacks as you can get, so great flexibility there, and the same points cost for each. They were cheaper than chariots, so a decent sized unit of 6 was not uncommon, and the models look great despite being old, and I really hope that we see a reincarnation of these in some absolutely stunning plastic kit, because I think they're absolutely ripe for a plastic kit with exceptional detail, and they would look fantastic, particularly with the different choice of animal heads. Yeah, I really hope to see these, and I really hope they're as good in the old world. What we want to see these guys here is monstrous infantry that can put out the damage, that are reasonably tough as these animated constructs. So I could definitely see them filling that role. The bows were always an interesting one for me, because you know, in theory they could be quite good, but that low ballistic skill does hurt them, and I think they were better used in melee combat, and so that's kind of where I'd expect their focus to be in the old world. There you go, guys. That takes us to the end of the first part of our look at the Tomb King's special units in their army book. Hope it's given you an idea of the flavour of these units and how they might play in Warhammer The Old World. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't know, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comments down below. And as always, please hit the subscribe button. Free for you to do, means a massive amount for me, so thank you for that in advance. You've been watching The Ghost Hour. Tune back in for part 2 of the Tomb King's special units.